In episode 7, Harwood is thrown into prison, but in reality, he's just under lock and key. He's back at his estate, and he's trying to figure out how he's going to get back into power. Meanwhile, over at Raven HQ, Salt is doing his work. There's a general that wants Salt to put Harwood on trial for murder, but Salt doesn't want to do that, saying that they currently need Harwood to smile for the cameras. Nobody needs to know that he's under lock and key. And if, God forbid, they drop Stormcloud, it would be done in Harwood's name, because then Harwood could be the scapegoat for it. But the secretary that takes Harwood's calls can't just stand by and let his name be sullied. She needs help, and the only person she knows that Harwood trusts that currently isn't locked up are the Psych Sisters, so she calls them up. They head over to Harwood's estate, basically bust their way in. He's thrilled to see them, but he's not going with them. He knows that Salt has won. He tells them that the army's never going to trust him again after what he did. Salt planned all of this. He made himself indispensable to me, and he's done the same thing with the army and the Union. And now he's ruling in my name, and no one's going to touch him. Harwood mentions that the best way to stop Salt is for him to die, because with him dead, Salt won't be able to rule in his name. Without that leverage, Salt will never last long. But the idea of Harwood dying isn't exactly on the Psych Sisters' minds. They want to come up with an alternative solution. Right as they're about to leave, they hear somebody on a bullhorn tell them that the house is surrounded. They can't escape. The Psych Sisters getting in there made quite a bit of ruckus. Army soldiers come into the house, but Harwood stops them and says, "Wait, you, I don't trust you guys, but I also don't want any more bloodshed. I'll surrender tomorrow, but I'll only do it to Colonel Salt." And Salt really doesn't want to do it, but he also doesn't want to have the situation escalate, so he's going to be forced to go. The next day, the army shows up, Salt shows up, and Harwood's plan is to create a diversion at the front of the house, which is going to let the Psych Sisters sneak out the back door. Once they're in the clear, they need to get a message to Francis Gaunt. Apologize for Harwood. The Psych Sisters are concerned about what's going to happen to Harwood, but he looks at him and says, "Just trust me on this. Trust that I'll do the right thing." So the plan goes into action. Harwood goes out the front, the Psych Sisters sneak out the back, but the diversion that Harwood creates is yelling about how Salt is a traitor. He tries to get the soldiers on his side, but it doesn't work. Nobody follows him. He then pulls out a gun, and Salt gets super nervous that the soldiers are going to do something. He can't risk Harwood being harmed, and Harwood knows that. So Harwood steps forward with this gun, and he basically forces the soldiers to shoot him, murdering him. And now Salt's in deep trouble, because without Harwood, the Raven Union leadership is going to go to an election. Now over with the opposition, they were worried about Stormcloud, and Washington has an answer for them. They tell both Fox and Thomas Wayne to stand down, do nothing. That's what the U.S. government's planning on doing. They're out of sight, out of mind. It's not their problem. And both Wayne and Fox are blown away that the U.S. government is just going to sit back and watch the Raven Union drop a literal terror bomb on a city. And that's when they realize that the U.S. government wants the Raven Union to use Stormcloud. They just want culpable deniability. And they want it used because they want the war over. They don't care how it happens. They just want it done. Wayne's boss tells them that both of them are to be on the embassy flight the next day. But as Fox is ready to tell her what's on his mind, Thomas shuts the TV off. He knows it's not going to do any good. At this point, you're just going to piss them off. You're not going to change their mind. But Thomas also isn't willing to sit back and do nothing like his government. So he calls up Martha Wayne and schedules a meeting to discuss something, quote, important. And of course, she has something to discuss with him that's pretty important. So they agree to meet that night at her place. Fortunately, they go to the club, they get drunk, and they show up way late. Like 1:35 in the morning late. A drunk Thomas Wayne tells Martha, "You have to get out of here right now." They quickly explain to her what Stormcloud is and the fact that they're going to use it on London in about a week. And the worst part is the U.S. government's going to look the other way. Thomas is hoping that she'll go to Aziz. Of course she's going to, because he knows that the best way to stop Stormcloud is public exposure. If Aziz yells loud enough, then the U.S. government can't ignore him. President will have to intervene. But it's important that Martha not tell Aziz who gave her this information, even though Aziz is going to know who gave her this information. If it ever sees the light of day, Thomas is just going to deny that he ever said anything. Patricia then walks downstairs because she's staying with Martha. She's surprised to see her brother there, and he explains that there's soon going to be a chemical attack on London. They're booked on a government flight leaving that day, and they have to be on it, no ifs, ands, or buts. Martha is dead set. She is not getting on that plane. She still believes that they can stop Stormcloud. but they still have quite a bit of time before this plane leaves to hash out those kind of details. Now, over with Alfie, he's been staying at the club. He shows up, and there's Melanie Troy. She tells him that her husband knows nothing about their relationship. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. But when he heads home later that day to help his mom pack up some stuff and sell some other stuff, he's pretty surprised when Gully walks through the door. Alfie gets extremely nervous. He doesn't know why Gully's there, and he's suspicious when Gully tells him he's there because of a job. He doesn't like how they ended the last job, and this job pays really well, but he sees that Alfie's packing up to leave. He's a little surprised. He never thought Alfie would actually leave London, but yet here he is. And not only is he leaving London, but he's saying no to the job.
Gully is definitely suspicious. He finally puts everything together and he confronts his wife about what is going on, and it leads to a domestic dispute where she ends up getting away by stabbing him in the throat. It doesn't kill him. In fact, he's able to stitch himself up, but she doesn't know that. She's only got one place to go, and that's the club and Alfie's office. When Melanie mentions how she's not going to be safe anywhere, Alfie tells her, then you need to come to America with me. So the next day, when it comes time for Alfie, his mom, Dave Boy to leave, Melanie's in the car with him. But when it comes time for everybody to get on the plane, Alfie can't bring himself to do it. His mother is thrilled, Dave Boy's kind of pissed, and Melanie's the only one left standing there. And Alfie tells her, I can't go, but you can. You need to get on that plane. Get away from Gully. When Melanie asks him why he changed his mind, he says, well, it sounds stupid, but this is my home, and it's worth fighting for. The two say their goodbyes. Melanie tells him that if he's ever in Gotham to look her up, and then they go their separate ways. But it's not like Melanie's going to be alone on this plane ride. She makes a friend in Patricia Wayne. And as Alfie is watching the plane take off, Thomas comes up and approaches him. He's shocked because all Alfie's been talking about is getting to America. He paid a lot of money for those tickets, and now he's not even using them. Alfie tells him he changed his mind. And then Alfie realizes that Thomas is supposed to be on that plane too. And when he asks Thomas, why aren't you on there? Thomas says, I've changed my mind. They then walk off, and Alfie and Thomas meet up with Martha, Dr. Fox, and they head over to show Aziz the film of exactly what Stormcloud can do. Thomas fills Aziz in on what the U.S.'s standing is. Thomas tells Aziz, you have to show this to the U.S. president publicly. With this evidence, she can't just sit back and do nothing. The League then gets ready to make their next move.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.